all comes down to this, the finals of Elestriad Season 2. BeanSoldier, coming off an impressive 9-0 run for the Cryoscorchers, takes on the Imperowad's golden child, Swolelax. These two casters are actually teammates on the popular Elestrals crew, the Elestronauts, and are surely going to give us an amazing finale to enjoy. The winner becomes immortalized as a divine rune in Elestrals history, much like Distant Coders was just revealed from Season 1. Who will take home the title and all of the glory? If you missed our crazy announcement, the winner of the final Frostfall webcam tournament tomorrow will get an invite into Season 3 of the Elestriad. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Head to play.elestrals.com to see all of our amazing competitive events and more as organized play begins on September 1st. This legend has an undefeated record. Let's see what BeanSoldier is bringing for the finale.
What's up, my nutmugs? It's your boy Josh, aka BeanSoldier, and somehow miraculously the Cryoscorch dream is still alive. I am carrying the Cryo Torch with me to the finals against a good friend of mine. We're going up against Swolelax from the Imperowads. It's a Knots final, baby. What we're going to be doing today is rocking it back with probably what exactly he's going to expect. We're playing fives, slightly different variation from what we played the other weeks. We are playing Mustation. We're back to the crab meta. We're playing the Galaxies, all the good stuff. Turtog was to heal, and then Sorlets. Only 2 Sorlets this week, which you might be wondering, why are you only playing 2 Sorlets? We are doing a bunch of really weird things, Spirit Math in the Spirit deck, because we're also playing a Moss Station as well. We are maxing out on our abilities to out Rabbit, and Sorlet is fairly expensive. So I wanted another option for outing Rabbit that didn't cost an additional wind, and Moss Station is perfect. We do only have 1 copy of this. 2 Lavalith, it's been a staple all season. 3 Rabbit because you have to, and then the Necruffs to search with the Small Tuga. Only 19 Elestrals this week. I think we played like 21, which was a huge number last week. So, other consistency cards, we got 2 Nectar, 3 Ambrosia to kind of refund our Nectars. Maxing out on our removal, the 2 Resting and the 2 Earthquakes. These cards always come in clutch for us. And then we are back on the Atlantis. If you watched our Shady Penguin match, this card came up a ton and allowed us to out the Bag of Winds Aramare. This card this week is going to turn off Swole's Mount Olympus and allow all of our 5s to become 6s to also beat over Rabbit itself. I also then don't have to worry about Race to the Top as well if we have the Atlantis out. And then we're rocking the typical 10 counter runes that we have access to, the 3 Shield, 2 Gorgons, 3 Tsunami, and the 2 Poison Tip. Spirit Math for this week is a little weird. A lot of it does have to do with our side deck, because I didn't want to side a lot of spirits into this matchup. So we are playing 8 Leviathan. I think this has been pretty close to what we've been playing before. 3 Lycoris for our Sorlets, and then also for cards on our side. 3 Vapyro. This allows us to do a Lavalith and 1 Necruff if we want to properly enchant the Necruff. 3 Zaptor, even though I only have the Rabbits, this allows us to re-enchant, and also if he plays an Olympus, we can misenchant one of our 5s to make it a 6 under Olympus to be over like Elichiks and Joltins and Sparkets. And then we're playing 3 Teratlus for the Earthquakes, and then also 1 for the Moss Station. So this Spirit Math also covers our bases for most of the cards on the side, which I am predicting that Swole will take one of 2 decks. He's either going to play the Thunder deck that he's played all season, which I would prefer him to play. I think I have a really good Thunder matchup, and I really hope he doesn't play his bread and butter, which has been 5s. Man loves his 5s. So we are going to try and tech out as best we can against both of those strategies, and maybe if he takes like a Volt Tempest or something. So we are playing 2 Galaxiers. This is a great card against 5s in general. We played this against Trish last week in the main because I thought he was going to be on 5s. Boombats, which is really interesting. Obviously, Boombat is better for Swole than it is for us, but this just acts as like a pseudo Earthquake for us. And then 2 Veritakwas to kind of out anything that like maybe Boombat can't deal with, or if he's playing a very defensive strategy. Then I think the best cards that we are siding for this matchup are actually 2 Joltin and an Atlantis. And the whole reason that this is crazy is if he is on Race to the Top Thunder, which again, I do think that he will be. I don't want to overcommit into this in case he's not. But Jolton under his Mount Olympus represents a 5. And then if I activate the Atlantis and turn off his, I can also misenchant the Jolton to turn the Jolton into a 5 under the Atlantis as well. So this pairs really well into a board and also establishing our own. I predict that I will side into this every single game if he is on Race to the Top. Then to fill out everything else, 1 Pandaris Box, 1 Poison Nectar if we see Circle the Sky, and then 1 more Zaptor to finish up the Spirit deck because we are deciding into the Joltons and maybe Boom Bats as well. So, with that being said, welcome to the finals. Swole, I love you, man. This is going to be one heck of a clash.
Bean is bringing the big guy beat down with the Water Fire package and the 5 guys ready to rock. This deck has proven its might in the Frostfall metagame and looks to be a huge hurdle for Swolelax and his Thunder strategy. I gotta believe Swolelax is ready for this, so let's hear what he cooked up.
What's up, my Nimbugs, and hello, Elestriad faithful, and welcome back to the last and final hour. With Swolelax here, reporting live from Camp Imperawat for the final deck profile for what I'm taking into this match. I am facing off against probably one of my most fearsome opponents yet, and that is Josh, aka BeanSoldier TV, from Team Cryoscorch. He's happened to claw his way back from the last seed inside of this top 8, and I'm terrified. His deck is really strong. I'm assuming he's going to be playing something very similar that he's been playing, aka the 5s list, a lot of really big bodies. And I thought to myself, I could either go into something similar, try to do a 5v5s mirror, or I could just try to hit him straight on with something like Thunder. So what I'm going to be bringing today is Thunder. Now, for the most part, this is the exact same list I brought against MBT, except for the Spirit deck, which is a little bit different, and then the side deck, which is majority different. So let's go ahead and go over the main deck real quick and check out that list real fast, and then we'll get into the rest of it. All right, so say it with me now. We have 3 copies of Astravid, 3 copies of Elichick, 2 copies of Zeus, 3 copies of Jolton, 2 copies of Mount Olympus, 2 copies of Race to the Top, 3 copies of Sparkit, 2 copies of Toxion, and of course 2 copies of Quackle, the main man here, and obviously 2 copies of Thunderstorm as well. So this is effectively the very same list that I brought into the Thunder package, at least for MBT, and I'm bringing it into Josh today. The idea with this is that I think this actually has a pretty decent matchup against something like 5s. As long as I can see a good balance of dudes and removal or runes, I think we're okay. And this deck does play a lot of it. We've Race to the Top to kind of complement, Mount Olympus to make my guys 5s to even contest his own bodies, Zeus, which will be really helpful to bring down his 5s so that all my little bodies can do it, and then Quackle to play around something like Eruption, which I think would be not too bad for him to bring into this matchup as well. Thunderstorm's also kind of nice because I can snipe out some back row because effectively 5s is a strategy in big bodies. Just want to play a big body and then set like 4 pass. So that'll be really nice. As well, I hope Toxion can put in some work, and this is going to be all the major players inside of the deck. Moving on as well, we have 1 copy of Lavalith as our final Lestral. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be put into positions where Josh will have more spirits on board than me, just because that's how Thunder likes to play, but I do think that Lavalith is, again, a big body that I can even ascend over one of my Thunder smaller guys and try to hit over. So 1 Lavalith just kind of for the util. Now, onto the runes and counter runes. We have 2 copies of Ambrosia, we have 2 copies of Nectar the Gods, 3 copies of Earthquake for our standard and premier removal. We have 2 copies of Gorgon's Gaze, 3 copies of Shield of Achilles, and 3 copies of Tsunami. Tsunami I'm actually kind of scared of. I am main decking it because I do think that it's necessary and potentially useful to transform my Astravid or something similar into defense. That way I can just withstand a hit from the 5s, but we shall see because a lot of the 5s deck and the 5s engine does play really well into Tsunami. So a little bit scary, but I might be able to side that out for something better, which, speaking of which, let's go over the side deck. Now the side deck is different because I do want to see some of these cards inside this matchup, and I really hope I do. First things first, we have 1 copy of Ambrosia and 3 copies of Galaxy. Nothing new here because I feel like these cards are just pretty standard at this point. It does have the 3rd copy of Ambrosia just for spirits. As well, we have the Galaxies, which does play really well into 5s because now it makes Josh kind of second guess if he wants to water enchant. That way I can swap that big body for a smaller body and then hit over with my own Galaxy, which I think would be pretty nice. So that's going to be part sauce there, but overall, we've been playing this throughout the entirety of the top 8. Here's the sauce. we have 2 copies of Boombat and 3 copies of Cerebral, as well the 2 Leviathan and 1 extra Zaptor. The Leviathan here is to kind of help supplement our extra water engine that we're playing. Now, let me explain Boombat and Cerebral real quick, because I think these guys are pretty cool. Boombat is really interesting. Now, initially as removal, especially inside of set 1, it's kind of slow, not gonna lie. But what I found out is actually it's really paired well with something like Sparkit. The idea is that you want to see as many cards that synergize with Sparkit as possible just to get some extra value off of the Nexus. So if the Sparkit can stick, and then Boombat can go on next turn, Sparkit, Boombat, and Rabbit are probably your 3 premier ones to try to play with. What you can do with Boombat is enchant it with the Nexus off of Sparkit, disenchant, keep the body on board, target, and destroy an Elestral, which is super powerful, especially into deck like 5s, which wants to trade 1-for-1 value. In addition to that, if Boombat happens to stick in that scenario, what you end up having is Josh trying to make a hard decision between keeping removal on the board if he can't out it, or also outing something like the Sparkit, which is also really strong. So I do like it. Only 2 copies though, because I feel like I can swap it out for stuff. And then Cerebral, the big brain themselves. So this little guy is really interesting. When this card came out inside of set 2, the initial thought was this was going to be pretty crazy to play inside of the main of Thunder. But what we found is that it's actually much better in the side. What you can do is condition your opponent to set all of their cards, because obviously they don't want to get it ripped by Sparkit. And so what you do is then you go, cool, Cerebral, and now Cerebral's out on the board, you get full back row knowledge, because they do have to reveal, and anything that's not a counter rune gets got. So things like Ambrosia, Earthquake, Rest on Your Laurels. Those things are insane to take away from a 5 strategy, so Cerebral I think is not too bad of a tech option. So that's what I'm hoping to bring into Josh today. I think that this is going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm hoping I can give it my all, and again, I'm just really intensely proud of everyone that's played inside of the Elestriad so far and how we've been able to get to this point. But I think I have to try something for my team. I have to see if we can close it out just one last time, because the clock is ticking, and we have one big final boss to hit. He went 7-0 inside of Swiss, and that was one of those losses. So hopefully we can redeem ourselves just a little bit and take it home for our team. So without further ado, are you ready? I think I'm ready. Let's see if we can do it just one more time.
You better fist bump that little Snowaddle. Let's make this happen. Thunder Nexus comes back for the final time with Sparkit being sent to Tartarus, so strap in. I'm particularly excited about the Elestral Cerebral. I want to see if that comes up in this best of 3 clash. Without further ado, the Elestriad Season 2 finale begins now. Here we go. BeanSoldier gonna kick this one off and go with the Nectar of the Gods. BeanSoldier's Water 5-guy strategy allows a little bit more flexibility with burning some of those spirits, which can provide cards like Nectar of the Gods to have a really good use case, because you can heal those spirits back up later in the clash with cards like Dratagua. We're going to see the Astravid here on turn 1, a taste of his own medicine. The Thunder Elestral Astravid has made its impact across the entirety of the Elestriad. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the most casted Elestral this season. We're going to see a couple back row. BeanSoldier obviously needs to protect against the potential Sparkit hand rip, which is where that Cerebral could come into play in a game 2 or game 3 on Swolelax's end. Let's see what we got here. We're going to see 2 Thunder Spirits thrown down for a Nectar of the Gods of his own, allowing him to draw 2 cards from the top of his deck and start to fortify his strategies as we head towards his first Elestral cast. It's going to be a Thunder Spirit, and it's going to be Elichick, a crucial piece to search out that Zeus to allow him to execute that Nexus strategy with both Sparkit, Astrabit, and of course providing the damage buff, or debuff rather, to allow his Elestrals to attack over the opponents. And that's exactly what Swolelax is going to do here. He's going to immediately get his Zeus onto the field. He knows there's 4 back rows, so it's likely this attack doesn't get off, but it's also possible that at least 2 of those are just bluffs, right? Just there to protect against Sparkit. We see the disenchant. That'll drop the Astrabit down to 2 defense, allowing the Elichick to attack over it. And there's the motion for the attack. But of course, Tsunami hits the field, and that will wash aside that Elichick into defense position, leaving it vulnerable to Astrabit's 2 attack stat now. We're going to see a Water Spirit come out on the end of BeanSoldier. It's going to be the Galaxy. Galaxy's unique effect, swapping its stats, giving him 5 attack here. And all those other Water Elestrals are going to benefit from that as well. Something to watch as these turns fly by here. If BeanSoldier is able to get out something like a small Tuga, there's some opportunities there where you can get some pretty good advantage. Swolelax does respond with a nice Shield of Achilles that will bounce the Galaxy back and force BeanSoldier to have to kind of re-strategize on his next turn, we see Swolelax grabbing a Water Spirit to make this play and an Earth Spirit. That might be indicating that he recognizes that, yeah, maybe my my Tsunami's not going to be super impactful, or my Water Spirit's not going to be super impactful. Opting to go for an expend to draw here to find some additional support. He is going to reposition his Elechick into attack and go for another shot at this Astrabid. This would be a big blow if he can get this hit to connect. The challenge, though, of course, comes down to the fact that he uses so many spirits to do this. He's already lost to Zeus since he only enchanted it with 2, but he does connect with that one. A big hit there for Swolelax, a really, really crucial play. But I think if that attack gets stopped there again, Swolelax is in some trouble. A misenchanted Necruff hits the field. That is a Water Spirit on the Necruff. This could prove to be a negative situation if Galaxy hits the field, as it'll actually reverse Necruff stats. But in the context here, it provides him with a 5 attacker with no effect, but it gets around Tsunami, and he's going to be able to pick off the Elechick. This will be a tough turn for Swolelax if he doesn't have an Elestral. We saw him expend to draw last turn. He did find an Elestral in these last 2 turns, and it's going to be the Sparkit. The question is, does he have Zeus again to pair with the Sparkit, or at the very least, some way to get more Thunder Spirits to the field? There's 2 Thunder Spirits. There's the Zeus. Sparkit Zeus is here, ladies and gentlemen, and he's able to go for the massive hand rip effect to pull out some of the resources out of BeanSoldier's hands. The challenge, though, comes down to, does Swolelax have enough muster and might to get through this Necruff? And he sees what I would not want to see as in terms of a hand, because while you can rip the Galaxy and the Necruff and the Sorlet, by getting rid of any of those, you're really not putting yourself in much more of an advantage than you already had, because any one of those Elestrals could challenge the field. But what's great here for Swolelax is he doesn't even need to use the Spirit off of Zeus to drop the stats of the Necruff, because with his Mount Olympus, he can actually pair it and go for a race to the top. Huge plays there from Swolelax, clearing the Necruff. Big moves there. Nice combo play on Swolelax's end, getting out the Olympus, then the race to the top, counting up his 7 spirits. He knows he can attack forward for 2 here. Gonna throw down a Fire Spirit into an Ambrosia to heal up a little bit. Smart moves here at this part of the clash. Very important that he's gonna be able to get some of these spirits back to hang in there. And now the question is, can he get this hit off with the Sparkit, which will deal 2 spirits of damage and kind of close the gap a little bit? And then if he can, it seems like he's going to, does he have the back row to protect the Sparkit on the upcoming turn? Understanding that there's a possibility of that Necruff or that Galaxy coming out. The one benefit he has is that Mount Olympus is boosting him up to 6 attack, making him stronger than some of the other threats. But there's the face down Earthquake. That's where that Cerebral comes in. Earthquake does shatter the field down and take out the Sparkit, and the momentum that Swolelax had is now gone. Will we see the Galaxy hit the field on BeanSoldier's end? It's going to be another Nectar of the Gods. An interesting choice there. That tells me that BeanSoldier is looking to fortify his counter Rune Row, most likely, or searching out an Ambrosia. That's pretty handy as well. We saw that he had a handful of Elestrals in his hand, but we didn't see any more support on the counter side. He has those runes face down, which could be bluffs. Grabbing a lot of Water Spirits there. That could mean he's got Tsunami, or he's just looking to play his Water Elestrals. Mustation gonna be the answer here. I like this choice quite a bit. It sets up for the Galaxy on the following turn, and it also has some defensive prowess, as you can use its effect in response to Swolelax casting. For those who are unaware, Mustation, when an Elestral is cast, has the opportunity to swap its stats by expending a Water Spirit. It can also do that offensively during your turn as an active effect. So a very unique Elestral in that regard. And Swolelax immediately pressures it in a super cool way with that Astrabid here. This might be one of the best bang for your buck values, but BeanSoldier has the exact response he needs with the Gorgon's Gaze. I really like that play from Swole, because the Astrabid pressures the Mustation to either force its effect or lose the Mustation, or at the very least force a rune. The Gorgon's Gaze there is crucial because it stops the search effect on a rabbit. And here comes Galaxy. Swolelax is going to need some sort of response. He cannot allow this Galaxy and this Mustation to attack forward. There's another Ambrosia from BeanSoldier, emptying out most of his hand. We know he still has a Necruff left, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be big. Can Swolelax hold it down here? One thing to note, though, if Swolelax has a Tsunami, he can Tsunami his Astrabid to defense position and give it 6 defense and allow himself to live the incoming attack from a potential Mustation. That could be a massive play there. We're going to see a Gorgon's Gaze on the Galaxy. No, on the yes, big plays. Oh my god, I love that. So he Gorgon's Gaze the Galaxy on the Mustation attack, removing Galaxy's passive effect and forcing the Mustation to get its stat swap backwards, and ultimately results in the Mustation crashing into the Astrabid and losing his opportunity to deal some damage there. And now Swolelax has the flexibility here to potentially go for a Nexus. He's gonna Nexus off of the Mount Olympus, onto his rabbit to get a double rabbit proc. A little surprised that he doesn't go for the play onto the Spark It there, so that way he can guarantee hit something. But there's a Gorgon's Gaze in response. This has been a crazy clash of back and forth. These two casters are going so hard right now to try to get this advantage in this one, and that Gorgon's Gaze is going to stop that Nexus. The question is it going to stop he still gets the Astrabbit, so he lets the Nexus go through, opts to not do anything. But I think Swolelax makes a big mistake there by not changing the position of his rabbit to defense. I'm a little confused why he didn't do that. Necruff hits the field with a Fire Spirit now and can immediately pressure. Why didn't he switch the rabbit to defense? Gorgon's Gaze does not prevent you from changing your position. Necruff able to put on the pressure. If it connects and destroys an Elestral in battle, he's going to be able to deal an additional Spirit of damage in doing so. And both the Galaxy and the Necruff pressure, there's a Tsunami that'll at least take him out. It all makes sense now. He has a backup plan, as now Rabbit can endure a potential hit from Galaxy, but Spark It cannot. So Galaxy does take out the Spark It, and now Swolelax in a position with just 3 spirits left here. He's gonna find a Thunder Spirit. Is it a Jolton? It's a Toxion. That could be pretty big. Toxion plus Zeus does get over the Galaxy, and Rabbit can take out the Necruff. He's got the back row pressure. Does he have enough? Swolelax here to the very wire. This one is so close. Rabbit turns to attack position. Toxion gets the buff. It takes out the Galaxy. Rabbit takes out the Necruff, and all of a sudden, BeanSoldier's left with no field in this game 1 of a best of 3 clash. A Water Spirit. Is it Dratagua? It's gonna be the Dratagua. A huge play from BeanSoldier to provide some sustainability here in this later part of the clash, healing up 2 Water Spirits, giving himself a little bit more breathing room, and most importantly, a 4 defense body to stop this Toxion from hitting over it. I bet Swolelax was wishing that he still had that Mount Olympus right about now. Another Thunder Spirit. It's a Jolton. That's the Mount Olympus he's looking for. He can search out that Olympus, and if his last spirit is indeed Thunder, he has an opportunity to potentially seal this game, or at least get darn close right here. Does he have a Thunder Spirit? He sets a back row. He reaches for it. It's a Thunder Spirit. That's going to allow this Jolton to attack over the Dratagua. It goes down, and 3 spirits of damage here on BeanSoldier. Swolelax down to 0, but has a massive 5 spirits on field. Here comes an expend to draw, looking for something. Ambrosia, anything? Looks like Swolelax takes game 1 here in an incredible back and forth clash, and he is 1 step closer to claiming the Divine Champion rune in Elestriad Season 2. We are headed to clash number 2 after these 2 casters dive into their side decks and get things cooking even more. I'm legit blown away at how crazy that first clash was. BeanSoldier kicks off this one, as he did take the loss, going with the Nectar of the Gods, starting this one up just how he started the last one. Swolelax has got to be feeling real good. I think taking that first game here in a clash where he really was behind the entire match is big. And we're going to see that Misenchant Sorlet here with the Water Spirit. BeanSoldier going to set a ton of back row. Oh man, do I want to see a Cerebral more than ever right now from Swolelax. That would just be such an awesome play, but we're going to see an Earthquake instead, shattering the field and getting rid of Sorlet right now. If you're Swolelax, you're feeling good about that. Dude, give me that Cerebral, please. Please let me see it. It would be so nuts. I really want to see it. Let's see. It's going to be a Thunder Spirit, so we don't get to see it. It's going to be a Toxion, getting a little bit of burn action going on here. I like this game plan. That'll take 1 spirit away from BeanSoldier, and the offensive attack here can potentially force another spirit from him, either in direct damage or in response. We would only really see a Tsunami here, a potential Shield of Achilles, but that's a pretty net negative spirit differential on that. So Bean will just simply take the 1 spirit of damage, it looks like, and press onward with his next turn, opting to discard a Vipyro from that expend. Going to be looking to get some momentum here. Those 5s are so powerful. It's going to be the Necruff with a Water Spirit. Again, being able to dodge Tsunami. I'm curious if Swolelax sided out that Tsunami, understanding that there's just so much pressure from Water Elestrals in this game. Or rather, Water Enchanted Elestrals. It's going to be a Shield of Achilles. Let's see it. It's going to be the Gorgon's Gaze. An interesting choice from Swolelax there. That will keep his Toxion alive, which tells me that he might be looking to execute some sort of a combo strategy with Toxion and further the burn damage. Generally, you would just let the attack go through, I think, unless you really want to activate a combo here, or you have a Zeus of your own to try to power over. There's 2 spirits. It's going to be a Nectar of the Gods, maybe looking to fish for some of those resources that he needs. We saw those big plays there with that Mount Olympus race to the top strap. It's going to be Elichick. That'll give him his Zeus. and that Zeus is so big. And the reason why Zeus has been such a powerful Divine rune, not just in Thunder Nexus, but just in general, is because situations just like this. It debuffs the opponent's Elestral's attack and defense, which means that if BeanSoldier has a response to Toxion, the Elechick can still take out the Necruff. The card here that really matters is Tsunami, and there it is, Tsunami, the one counter rune that protects BeanSoldier in this situation, and he's perfectly executed it as he sends both Elechick and Toxion to defense position and forces a disenchant off of Zeus. A really unfortunate situation for Swolelax that he really didn't have any other way to play around. Another misenchant coming from BeanSoldier. It's going to be the Sorlet this time. 2 5-1 attackers with no effects, but they get around Tsunami, and they can put a ton of pressure on. Does Swolelax have an answer? Let's find out. He's looking. He's going to Gorgon's Gaze again. That's a little bit tough if you're Swolelax. You're using a lot of spirits here. You're forcing yourself to use these counter runes, and it can be a little bit tricky to kind of maintain the momentum when Gorgon's Gaze is being used in this capacity. Generally, you want to use it like he used it in Clash 1, where he gained so much an advantage off of that Galaxy. But here's Jolton. This is big. Mount Olympus is massive for Swolelax, as it's going to enable that race to the top play that we saw work so well in that first Clash. All right, let's see what Swolelax is cooking. He's going to shift that Elechick into attack position, debating his next move. Going to go for the disenchant, opting to not cast the Olympus at this point. I feel like the Olympus is really big here because it makes both of his guys 5 attackers to, at the very least, counter the 5 attack stats. There it is. There's the Mount Olympus from Swolelax. But you can see just how spirit intensive this has been. Earthquakes, 2 Gorgon's Gazes, Mount Olympus, all of these cards are just resulting in Swolelax being down in spirits significantly. And that's where the 5-guy strategy really shines in Elestrals right now, is it's very spirit not intense, right? It's able to conserve those resources very effectively, and when you can use Tsunamis like BeanSoldier just did again, it's going to put Swolelax in a very difficult position, because in order to kind of maintain this onslaught here of these attackers, he's going to be able to need to provide counter rune support, and the only counter rune that really does that in a kind of wide scale is Tsunami, but again, it doesn't work against this Necruff and this Sorlet. BeanSoldier opting to expend the draw because he's in a powerful position, so he can actually grab more resources. He finds an Ambrosia and then an Atlantis, and that could seal the deal here on this game too, if I'm being totally honest. Atlantis gets rid of and washes away that Mount Olympus. Stadiums are really big. We see that there's immediate pressure here. Both Necruff and Sorlet are buffed up to 6 attackers, and both Elechick and Jolton seem to be going down. Swolelax might be trying to save one of them. He does. A Shield of Achilles is really big here. It's going to cost him 2 spirits, but he's going to be able to save his Jolton for another go. The reason why that's important is a potential race to the top mirror here, being able to get that Mount Olympus back out. But with so few spirits left and BeanSoldier sitting at 11, this is going to be pretty tough. Here comes a Thunder Spirit on Swolelax, and it's going to be the Astrabit. That's going to give him some card advantage, potentially some Ambrosias, because he's going to need to be able to heal up here if he wants to maintain this. But Poison Tipped Arrow is devastating from BeanSoldier, as that's going to put on a ton of pressure to Swolelax and make it so this Astrabit is not going to stick around at the end of this turn. Ambrosia, he finds it. That'll help him heal up an additional couple spirits and keep him in this clash. Jolton moves to attack position, but it looks like he's going to end his turn. The Poison Tipped Arrow activates and takes out the Astrabit, and now BeanSoldier is on the offensive once again with his Sorlet, and we'll see if he misenchants it to take advantage of that Atlantis as he did earlier in the clash. Swolelax, 5 spirits to go, 2 face down runes, facing down the gauntlet of 5 attackers. BeanSoldier at a nice and comfortable 8 spirits. Let's see how this is going to play out. The Jolton is going to go down. 1 spirit of damage. Looks like it's going to hit Swolelax. His counter rune row has been exhausted. Shield of Achilles after Gorgon's Gaze after Gorgon's Gaze. He looks pretty satisfied with whatever he just picked up from the top of his deck. It's going to be a Nectar of the Gods. If you're Swolelax here, you're fishing for more Ambrosias or maybe a Quackle just to keep you in the clash a little bit longer. It looks like he is going to scoop this one. The Nectar of the Gods does not find him the cards that he needs. And we are headed to a game 3 here in this best of 3 clash to determine who will ultimately become the champion of Elestriad Season 2. Heading into this Clash 3, Swolelax has what I can consider one of the biggest advantages of all time. He gets to go first for the first time, and if he can find Sparkit Zeus, he may be able to get such an advantage. It's the Sparkit! BeanSoldier, his soul just left his body. It's going to be Mount Olympus Sparkit. So he does get the turn 1 hand rip here. An incredible amount of information and knowledge for Swolelax as he embarks on his journey to become the champion of Elestrals. And he sees a plethora of different options. Tsunami, Ambro, PTA, Necruff, Rabbit. I think if you're Swolelax, if you have the rune support, you take out the Rabbit, but he's gonna go for the Necruff here. That's a tough call, but at least he has that information now. He knows there's a Tsunami, he knows there's a Poison Tipped Arrow, he knows there's an Ambrosia, which is irrelevant right now, and now he knows that BeanSoldier's gonna have to figure out a way to get rid of his Sparkit, and this Rabbit is going to be able to generate some potential answers to that. If you're Bean, you're looking for removal here. You're looking to prevent this Sparkit from doing it again, and he finds the Earthquake. Huge plays there from BeanSoldier, the exact card he needs. That was kind of why I was trying to make the argument of maybe you take out the Rabbit, leave him with the Necruff. You just got to be able to stop the Necruff on the following turn, because if you can get a second hand rip, then you're in a really good spot. But Swolelax opts to expend to draw here. He's going to be searching into his deck for more answers. A really good start for him, but again, kind of foiled by that Earthquake. BeanSoldier found it exactly when he needed to before this Clash snowballed out of hand. Earthquake on Swolelax's end will get rid of the Rabbit, and he's going to have an empty field once again, but BeanSoldier, we know he's got opportunities to get more Elestrals out. It's going to be a Thunder Elestral, another Rabbit. This one's going to be an attack position, which of course BeanSoldier has some flexibility to work with, considering we know he has a Poison Tipped Arrow and a Tsunami face down, as well as an Ambrosia as well. So Swolelax going to be taking 1 Spirit of damage here. Big advantage from BeanSoldier getting the effect of the Rabbit off. Here comes Swolelax responding on his own. It's going to be the Jolton that will allow him to get that Mount Olympus. Will Bean respond with the Poison Tipped Arrow, or is he going to be looking to just shift this thing to defense position instead? Looks like we're going to see no response here. Jolton is going to attack. Bean might be using his Tsunami here in this situation. He's going to do just that and shift that Jolton and the Astrabbit to defense. Keep it safe, keep it secret, all that good stuff. BeanSoldier looks to the top of his deck to grab a new card to start his turn. It's going to be Sorlet making its appearance once again. Sorlet, the incredible 5 attacker, misenchanted with water. Once again, immediately pressuring the Jolton with that incredibly high attack stat. There is a response, it seems, from Swolelax. It's going to be the Gorgon's Gaze to shut it down once again and prevent that attack from happening. But again, as valuable as that is for Swolelax, it's not like the best advantage, because unless you have a way to take advantage of it on this next turn with like a Zeus, you basically stopped an attack and, you know, you didn't really gain a whole lot of momentum. But let's see what he's got here, because a Race to the Top could change everything if he's able to pair the Race to the Top with the Jolton. It looks like he's digging for it. He's got it. Race to the Top will indeed allow him to take out that Sorlet. A big play there from Swolelax. Now the question is, does Swolelax have an opportunity to hit over this Astrabbit? Looking like he's going to expend the draw again, looking for resources. And one of the themes that I've seen through this entire Clash of Best of 3 is just how much BeanSoldier is ahead in every one of these clashes. And I think, again, we speak to 5s being kind of the dominant deck right now in the Frostfall metagame. Took a little while to get there. Resulted in Sparkit being banned to Tartarus in kind of the competitive series, not in the Elestriad. And we've seen a lot of casters kind of go to this style of deck that BeanSoldier's running, which really leans heavily on water. It leans heavily on, you know, cards like Galaxy and Smoltuga and Necruff and Sorlet and Lavalith to deal massive amounts of damage and not really use a lot of resources. Whereas Swolelax, on the other hand, Thunder Nexus has always been a really expensive deck. It gets away with it because of the advantage that it generates with cards like Rabbit. That's the kind of card that really helps Swolelax here, though, is little Quackle. Quackle gives him 3 spirits back. This is a really big play from Swolelax, and it's one of the ways that Thunder Nexus is kind of trying to counteract some of these strategies. And you know, if I'm kind of being honest, one of my favorite parts about card games is how the metagame shifts, where one particular idea becomes dominant, and then, you know, players kind of adjust to try to counter that idea, and it creates this really back and forth dynamic in a metagame, which hopefully, you know, when you have kind of nice balance, you get those opportunities. Really smart plays there from BeanSoldier. He's going to pull a Spirit off Astrabbit, use his Ambrosia, and then get out the Lavalith here, which is going to take out a face-down rune, but it looks like he hits a Tsunami. So really lucky there if you're Swolelax. You get rid of the potential threat of Lavalith right out the gates, but BeanSoldier has an Atlantis of his own to take the field control, the stadium control right now, but this one's looking a little closer than it was a turn ago, right? That Quackle helps Swolelax stay in it. He's got some decent opportunities here. A Zeus would be pretty big if you're Swolelax. That would actually be a really big opportunity for him. Or a Sparkin. It's going to be Toxion. Toxion will provide 1 Spirit of Burn damage. Jolton going to shift to attack position. Obviously a little scared of this Lavalith. Does he have a Zeus though? That's the question. Looks like he's going to pass it. So opting to put his Jolton and Toxion in attack position, even though the Lavalith could threaten them. So a Misenchanted Sorlet that gives him a 6 guy alongside his Lavalith. Lavalith and Sorlet both sitting there about to deal some massive damage. Does Swolelax have enough back row pressure to keep these 2 Elestrals off his shoulders? Let's see. He's going to flip 1 rune. No, he's going to look at his other one. It's going to be a Gorgon's Gaze. He can stop 1 attack, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop both. Let's find out. It's going to be the Toxion that goes down. Smart choice from BeanSoldier, as that's the only Elestral that still can use its effect. Another Thunder Spirit to run it back. It's going to be an Astrabit, fortifying the defenses of Swolelax, allowing him to get some advantage, but a Poison-Tipped Arrow again from BeanSoldier, proving to be incredibly instrumental in taking out these rabbits and ensuring that Swolelax is not able to keep them sticky onto the field and gain that advantage and momentum. He will get the draw from the top of his deck though, so let's see if he's able to find any sort of resources. It's going to be an Ambrosia that'll allow him to hang in this clash just a smidge bit longer, both the Quackle and the Ambrosia, providing that sustainability and that recovery in a situation where he most desperately needs it. But unfortunately, he's forced to pass and take the rabbit going down. Jolton is vulnerable. Lavalith is ready to strike. Astrabit's there. Does Bean have a 4th Elestral? He does. It's going to be a Water Spirit, and it's going to be the Moss Station. Moss Station coming out Misenchanted as a 5 guy, not even needing its effect, getting to take advantage of the Atlantis and get around Tsunami. This is a tremendously powerful onslaught here from BeanSoldier in the position he's at. All 4 Elestrals can deal some massive damage here. We're going to see the Jolton go down, the Quackle go down, and what equates to 3 spirits of damage into Swolelax's spirit deck, facing up against 4 powerful Elestrals. How does Swolelax climb back in this one? He kind of shrugs his eyebrows. He looks at his spirit deck. He's debating. He's going to go with a Thunder Spirit. It's going to be the Elechick that'll get him his Zeus, but Zeus can only provide a buff for a short period of time. It's not going to give him enough strength to hit over both the Lavalith, the Sorlet, and the Mastation. If he can find a Mount Olympus and the Zeus, maybe there's an opportunity to try to get back in this one with the right counter rune play. But the Disenchant from Zeus, that's going to allow him to swing. BeanSoldier's got back row. Shield of Achilles bounces it, and BeanSoldier poises himself and takes the win as the champion of Season 2 of the Elestriad. BeanSoldier of the Cryoscorches goes undefeated through the regular season and ultimately takes the victory against Elestronauts teammate Swolelax. An incredible W, an incredible win, and a massive, massive victory for the Cryoscorches in this epic season of crazy proportions. I want to take a moment and thank everybody who helped make this season of the Elestriad an incredible one. From our programmers to the data team on the back end to all of the amazing casters who participated and clashed it out for what is 50 insane days of clashes and then some. What an epic feat. I know Andrew, our editor, was very busy as well, so big shout out to the entire team, Luan, our artist, and everybody who came together to bring this and make it happen. Big shout outs to BeanSoldier, and I gotta let you guys know that Season 3 is going to be even more epic. We've already got some cool things in the works, including an opportunity for you to be in it if you can win the webcam tournament that's on the 25th of August. You're gonna wanna win it because you'll get into Season 3 and it's gonna be really awesome. And I do wanna let you guys know that I do have it on my calendar to throw down A-Drive versus BeanSoldier in one final clash to put the pin on Season 2. Thank you guys so much for watching, and congratulations again to BeanSoldier. I look forward to making your Divine Rune and Elestrals and immortalizing you in our history forever. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next season.